At Scotty A. Smith coming in hot. Let's get it.
All right. Talking about the U.S. women's national team. Congrats. They made it to the round of 16. I don't know if that's congratulations, but thank goodness they did. Let's talk about that. Like, thank goodness. It would have been a complete meltdown and disaster if they hadn't. But so Carly Lloyd here, pictured here, one of the former captains of the U.S. team, an icon of U.S. soccer that recently retired in the last couple years, now on the coverage pre and post game of Fox covering the World Cup, said some comments that got a lot of blowback, a lot of support, but also a lot of blowback. And quite frankly, in a game that we all knew the U.S. was far superior to and needed to win or tie to advance against Portugal, they go out and score 0 goals and play uninspiring soccer, don't look remotely near the means of their parts. They are crazy talented at all positions, but they didn't play up to that standard whatsoever. Not even close. It was the worst. In the most important game they've played this far in the World Cup, they played their worst. Okay? And Carly Lloyd, quite frankly, was asked off the cuff after about the U.S. women's team who was celebrating on the field, taking pictures and selfies with fans, dancing in the middle of the field with teammates and taking selfies and smiling and happy-go-lucky about this 0-0 tie against Portugal, who's outside of the top 20 in the world. And she said, quite frankly, she said, I've never witnessed something like that. She said, there's a difference between being respectful of the fans and saying hello to your family, but to be dancing and smiling? I mean, the player of the match was that post. If you don't know, Portugal hit the post in the 92nd minute, which saved the U.S. lives. That goal would have eliminated them. She said, you're lucky to not be going home right now. And this is obviously a player that's very familiar, played with a lot of these players, knows these players. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, thank you for saying that. Like, thank you, Carly Lloyd, for being honest and putting it out there and saying what's on your mind. Apparently, there's people that don't agree. There's people out there that wholeheartedly disagree with Carly Lloyd, and quite frankly, that's fine. You can do that. But I ran into this article on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it at this point. That was like Carly Lloyd. The title of this article, and I've already said what Carly Lloyd said, right? I've already, by quote, said it. Carly Lloyd's attacks on the U.S. women's national team are personal and political. And I'm going to focus on the political real quick. What the hell about what Carly Lloyd said was political? Quite frankly, the only thing political about what she said was someone writing an article deciding it was political. The only person that's being political is the person that's writing a headline to that article. That is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Like, and then it underlined, it's like the U.S. women's national team has always carried a double burden. They need to be the best and they need to be global soccer icons. And I'm like, Carly Lloyd played for this team. She played 17 years for the national team. She knows what's up. There's nothing political about what she's saying. Now, she's come out and said the culture in the last couple of years in U.S. women's soccer has changed on the national team. It has changed in the sense of like, and she didn't love it. She did not love the culture change where it was everyone playing for themselves, for each other, not for themselves. And all of this, there's a lot of pieces. All of a sudden she said that kind of changed in their last couple of years. But this writer writes an article about sports, and I'm assuming they've never played a sport in their life because they're like, why shouldn't we care about the fans? Of course you should care about the fans. But as a fan of sports, I would never watch my team underperform so greatly like the U.S. women's national team did the other night and be like, you know what I'd like them to do now is like dance around the field, be happy, smiling, and take selfies with me. Maybe if you're in person, you want a selfie, but if people watching are like, are you kidding me? I woke up in the middle in America. Here in Colorado, it was 1 a.m., so it was 3 a.m. East Coast time. Like, we're waking up in the middle of the night to watch this team and uninspired at all by what they're doing, and they're just smiling and happy-go-lucky after a tie against a team that probably wouldn't have a single starter for the American team in Portugal. I appreciate how hard Portugal played, quite frankly. This U.S. women's team is hard to cheer for right now. I'll be honest. I will always cheer for America, and of course I'm still going to cheer for them, and I hope they figure this out. But this team is a mess. You had a team that has won the last 2 World Cups in the U.S., and they fought for that. And they fought, and then now recently they have fought for equal wages to the U.S. men's soccer team. And guess what? They got it. They got it. Now, we can debate whether that's fair or not based off the revenue that the men's game brings in, which is much higher than the women's game. But the women's team has obviously been more successful. I'm not here to debate that. But now that they've got that, they look comfortable. They look like hey, we're going to get paid good money regardless. We're getting paid. We're not out here. We're here for the experience. It's not a team environment. They're not playing for one another. We have a Carly Lloyd led team 4 years ago that were dogs and fought tooth and nail. And now we had a team taken over by Megan Rapinoe, who is retiring the day after this World Cup exists. And you think her whole heart's in it as a captain? Megan Rapinoe is in it for the political reasons. If you want to talk political, let's talk about Megan Rapinoe. She's made it political. Okay? Right or wrong, I don't even care about that. But if you're going to write an article about political and bring up Carly Lloyd instead of Megan Rapinoe, that's bullshit. That's you being one-sided. Okay? This team has underperformed and has been dog shit this tournament. And it's okay. Carly Lloyd semi-apologized the next day, but not really. There was nothing wrong with what Carly Lloyd said. Nothing wrong. And literally in this article, they're like, oh, in the NBA, you'd never see the Heat losing to the Nuggets. They literally reference that. The Heat would never sign autographs after losing a game in the finals to the Denver Nuggets. But is that a good thing? We should want our fans to connect and forge moments that will be treasured. And I'm like, this person has never played a sport in their life or is the least competitive person on earth. Because as a fan of teams, if I see my team lose in a game that is wildly important, I'm emotionally invested in, and they're just smiling and dancing and signing autographs on the sidelines, I'll lose my shit. I will lose my shit on those people. And this article is literally the worst article I've ever read in my life. I don't know. It's The Nation. I don't even know how I found it. I don't even know who wrote it. But like, literally, this individual needs to be fired from writing an article ever again. Because no, this wasn't a political statement. This was a statement by Carly Lloyd on the performance of the team. Okay? And all they reference is like, oh, in Tokyo, Lloyd was the only U.S. player that refused to kneel. So who brought that up? Did Carly Lloyd bring that up? She's like, I'm mad at this team because they didn't kneel? Or did you bring this up writing in this article? And at the end, they're like, but we should respect the idea that caring about and connecting with fans is somehow a distraction from winning. Maybe the U.S. women's team will win the World Cup. Maybe they won't. But it won't be because this team was too nice to their fans. What a repellent thought. Talk about toxic. I hate this article with a passion. What I want to see from people that have the opportunity to play for our country in any sport is the passion and the will. Maybe we're not the most talented team. In this scenario, we probably are. But in a lot of sports, maybe we aren't. But I don't care about that. I want to see you put your blood, sweat, and tears into that and be thankful for the opportunity that you've been granted. And maybe that makes me old school. Maybe that makes me dumb. Maybe that makes me, you call me whatever name you want. I am so mad at this idea that like, ultimately it doesn't matter. It's more important that they connect with the fans that are there than actually putting a good product on the field. They're there to put a product on the field. There wouldn't be fans if they didn't put a product on the field. Figure it the fuck out, U.S. women's national team. Focus coming in. You are facing the number 3 team in the world in Sweden in the round of 16. You better come out with your best game ever, and you have to win, because even if you squeaked by the group stage, which was ridiculous, and now the best case scenario is that they've been on in the middle of the night, so people haven't seen it, and they ignored it a little. Because they fought so hard for this equal wage, because their performance has been so much better than the men's team, despite the men's game bringing in more revenue. But if you go out in the same round as the men's team did in their World Cup last year, the year after you just got granted equal wages, which guess what? You're the only women's team in the world that gets remotely, not only do you get equal, but no one else touches the men's wages in any other country in the world. So if anyone that complains about this country and they're like, oh, we're going to kneel for the flag, we're going to do this. This is the only women's team in the world that gets equal wages to the men. And that's what this country has done for this team. Right or wrong, I'm not here to debate. What I'm here to debate is, now you're going to get that and you're going to lay an egg? You're going to lay an egg? Get the fuck out of here. Get ready. Focus in. Put your heart on the line, work your ass harder than you ever have before. Instead of playing for yourself, play for this country and beat the shit out of Sweden in a couple nights. Can you do that for us? Because otherwise, this is an epic failure that we've never seen in women's sports in this country before. If they bow out in the round of 16, they're lucky to be here now. And I hate the idea that we have to protect them, because we wouldn't do that in men's sports. You want to be the same as men? Then we're going to call you out on your shit. And Carly Lloyd did that. And then, of course, there's tons of people coming to their aid. Fuck that. Let's go. Come on, America. Let's beat the shit out of these teams. Let's roll. Let's play hard. Let's play as a team. And let's win another World Cup and be the first team in history of men's or women's World Cup play to win 3 straight World Cups.